Paris, ville lumière, has brought us so many great things, birthed so many amazing people. Alright, fine, maybe not me, but you know what? I can cook pretty good, so that's what you're here for. Today we're gonna take on a classic from Parisian, bistro, and brasserie. If I'm mentioning entrecôte frites et béarnaise,
Je découpe plat.
you know what that is? A ribeye with some delicious fries and béarnaise sauce. We're going to tackle on the ribeye, which you've probably seen before on my channel if you subscribe. And if you're not subscribed and you're still listening to me right now, you should probably go do that. Alright? And then we're gonna tackle the fries. We're going to triple blanch them using duck fat for extra flavors. And obviously the béarnaise, quite technical, so you're gonna stay on to watch tips and tricks from me so you can master the beautiful mother sauce. One thing is left to be done, is to get cooking. So let's go.
Alright, so the recipe really is 3 elements: the steak, the sauce, and the potatoes. So I'm gonna use some russet potato because I like the fact that they have a nice size, but also they bake pretty well to get a fluffy inside and a crispy outside. So after I peel them, make sure to wash them to remove as much starch as possible. Then we're going to slice them lengthwise to create some, I would say, pavé. And we're gonna go across to create a chips. Now, people have different preference. Some likes to have larger chips, fries. Some like to have thinner fries. So the size is really up to you, and you can dice it to what your favorite size is, right? So another thing, go back in water so they don't oxidize and your potato don't turn brown. We're then gonna rinse them in water until it gets clear, and we're gonna place them into a pot with a good amount of salt. At this point, we're gonna place the potatoes on the heat and bring them to a simmer. Meanwhile, we're gonna start working on the reduction for our béarnaise. So in a small saucepan, I'm going to place my vinegar, and then we're gonna add the peppercorn. You can also toast them and crush them if you wish. And then we're gonna add some condiments. So I like to add shallots. You're simply going to peel it and then quickly dice it. Nothing needs to be fancy at this point, and place it into the saucepan. I will also add a clove of garlic that I'm gonna simply crush with the skin on. Again, we're going to pass it so it's not the end of the world. And I'm gonna pick my tarragon because I don't like to waste anything. So I'm gonna use the stalks and I'm gonna put it in the saucepan because it's gonna add some amazing flavors. I'm then gonna place it on the heat on low flame, and we're gonna let that simmer for probably about 5 to 10 minutes so the flavor can really get through the liquid. I'm going to grab all my tarragon leaves and I make sure I picked all the stalks as well because there's some little bit remaining, and then we're gonna just chop it and set it aside. Wow, look at this beautiful liquor. I cannot wait to make the sauce. So I'm going to pass it to remove all our little garnishes because obviously that does not stay in the sauce. And we're gonna put it aside to cool down a little bit. We're gonna work on the clarified butter now. So I'm going to place my butter onto my little saucepan and we're gonna let it melt. And while this is happening, I'm gonna check on my potatoes. They came to a boil, so perfect timing to remove them out of the water. And we're gonna place them onto a tray with some absorbing paper to remove all the moisture. And you wanna cool them down at room temperature. This is the best way, so make sure they are in 1 layers. Now let's go back to our butter. As you can see, it's starting to foam. And you can see all this little white foam up top. This is the milk solid from the butter. So to clarify our butter, we're gonna have to remove all of them, as you can see, until it's completely free of them. I'm then going to pass it through a sieve, and I'm gonna go very gently because you can see there's still some milk solid at the base of my pot. So I wanna make sure I stop just before that happens, which is about just now. Okay, I'm gonna put that aside and we're gonna keep our butter to the side for now because I don't want it to be too hot, so it's going to burn our eggs. Okay, now it's time to work on the second blanch of our fries, and this time we are going to blanch in duck fat, which I have at 275 degrees. I'm gonna place my potato for about 3 to 4 minutes so they can create that first little layer that's gonna capture all this beautiful crispiness from the potatoes. One thing you want to do is to work in batches. You don't want to overcrowd the pan so the fries have room to cook, and also you don't want the temperature of the oil to drop too much because you overcrowded the pot, right? That makes sense. So once you're done with the first batch, you'll repeat with the second one, and once they're all cooked, you want to put them again in one layer to cool down for the last batch. Okay, now we can go back onto the hollandaise portion of the sauce, which basically the Béarnaise is from the mother sauce hollandaise, and that's the step we're in, which is going to separate 3 egg yolks that we're going to add to the vinegar liquor that we worked on earlier. Once we have our eggs and the liquor together, we're going to place them on a double boiler, and you want to whisk them over the heat. But one thing is important is not to overheat the eggs. So as you can see, you should always be able to put your hands underneath without burning. So as you can see, it's getting there, but it's not quite the right thickness. Now it's more so what we want is a bit of a ribbon, but be careful not to scramble it because Gordon Ramsay will not be happy if you make scrambled eggs like he does instead of my delicious hollandaise. Then I'm gonna take it off the heat and place a little towel underneath so I have a nice stabilization of my bowl. I'm going then emulsify the egg mixture with the clarified butter, but you want to add little at a time so it doesn't split. Just like you would do with the mayonnaise. Technically, we could say that a hollandaise Béarnaise sauce are a hot mayonnaise. It's a hot emulsification. Once we've incorporated all of our clarified butter, we're gonna start working on adding flavors to our hollandaise so it becomes a Béarnaise. So I'm going to start with some black pepper and some salt to rectify the seasoning. And then I'm gonna add, I would say, the key part of the sauce, which is the chopped tarragon. You can put as little or as much as you want, because at the end of the day, you're eating the sauce, not me. My personal touch, I like to add a bit of lemon because it's a really heavy dish, and I feel like citrus always brighten the flavors and kind of like counterbalance the fat amount. All right, we're gonna give that a bit of whisk, and the only way to know if it's ready to go and if exactly what I want is to taste it. But first, I want to add a bit of Tabasco. This video is not sponsored by them, but it could be, wink. So anyway, it's gonna add a bit of heat, which I like, and now it's time to try it. And let me tell you, this is just so delicious. You cannot fake this, that, and I like it so much, I'm gonna have to try it twice. Now that the sauce is ready, I'm going to take my little spatula and we're gonna place it in the bowl, because it's gonna have to wait until we have cooked the steak. So I'm gonna place it into a bowl, but also we don't want to create a skin on top of the sauce. So I'm going to take a little bit of plastic and I'm gonna place it over the bowl and set it aside. All right, the time has come. Now it's time to cook our ribeye. So I've shown you before how to cook a ribeye and what the specifics on how to cook meat is in this video. So you can actually refer to it and I will give you all the tricks and tips. Anyway, well, I'm gonna start by seasoning it quite heavily with salt and pepper on both sides. Again, this is preference. You don't have to add pepper if you don't like it, or you can also add other spices if you wish to. Now that the steak is at room temperature, rested and seasoned, it's time to cook it. So I'm gonna take some garlic, split it in half. I also have some thyme and some rosemary to go with it and add flavors to my steak. And today I'm going to use a frying pan and not a cast iron to show you there's different methods and different ways. So I place my oil and bring it to nice heat. Then I'm going to drop my ribeye with the fat cap on first, which is the thicker piece of fat that you have up top, just to render it. And then I'm going to place my steak down and let it cook for about 30 to 40 seconds. At this point, I'm going to add my garlic just so it can start to roast a little bit. Then I will follow with the herbs, which are again rosemary and thyme. And then about a minute and a half later, I'm going to flip it and add my butter. Again, I'm using high quality butter, which is going to add even more flavor to my steak. I'm going to let foam that butter, and you can see I have a larger piece because I don't want it to melt all the time, all at once, because I want my butter to also cool down the butter that's already melted so it doesn't burn. Then we're going to baste the steak for about a minute, but the most important part is to rest that steak, which I'm going to do for about 5 minutes. While my steak is resting gently, I'm going to finish my fries. So for the third blanch, I would say the real frying time, I'm put my duck fat at a way higher temperature because I'm at 350. You could go up to 375. And we're gonna also cook the fries patches until they are absolutely golden brown and crispy to the way you like it. Very important to do as well is to season it right away. The reason why is the fat, just like every time we actually cook something in oil, as I've told you before, every time you want to cook in oil, you have all this excess fat and the salt is going to absorb it. So you have the absorbing paper underneath and you have the salt that's going to absorb that remaining fat. And also, well, I mean, we want our fries to be salty, right? That's probably the best part of the fries, is that salty flavors. Now we are ready to actually assemble our dish. So I'm gonna take my chips and put them into a bowl. I'm using parchment paper just because, well, it looks fancy. There's really no other reason. I mean, I guess if you are washing your dishes, it could also prevent too much fat from getting to the bowl, makes it easier when you clean. So I guess there's an advantage. All right, back to the sauce. I'm gonna take the Béarnaise and you can see the plastic allowed us to not have a skin and that like texture we don't want on top of the sauce. So we place it into a little ramekin, and now that our meat is nice and rested, we are going to slice it. I'm going to first remove the fat cap and set it aside, as well as the top part. I will then carve the steak, make sure we are against the grain so it's nice and tender. And once we're happy with our carving, we have to reveal the steak of the color. Beautiful pink medium rare steak. But if you wanted more, obviously you'll have to cook it a bit longer. But I mean, remember, I'm French, I eat everything raw. So this is already pretty cooked to me. I'm then going to take all my steak and I'm gonna place it into my plate, and I'm gonna just finish it with some fleur de sel. You could also use some Maldon salt or any type of finishing salt that you have at home. It's going to help seasoning the eye that did not maybe get some of the salt that we used before we cooked it. That's it.
And here we have it, some incredibly delicious local Ontario ribeye, finished with some fleur de sel and pan-seared for more flavors. A classic Béarnaise with some tarragon, and some duck fat triple blanche fries. If you enjoyed this recipe, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you don't know how to make it, look at the description below, you'll find the recipes there. And as always, I'm going to try it, and I will see you soon.